Hello everybody, and welcome along once again to another edition of the Red and White Ball. And I think that maybe we'll go back a little bit to last weekend, and I think there's great credit due to so many people who ensured that the match programme was completed. I'm talking about the county board match programme. 25 out of the 26 matches were played. I think the one that was missed out on was the Junior B football semi-final between Deal Rovers, Milford and Goalie in that game, because it actually goes on this Saturday, 2 o'clock in Carrigat Road. But the amount of work that went into changing, fixtures and changing venues at very short notice, and I mean, this had to affect the players, club mentors, club officers. I can only imagine the amount of phone calls that were made, referees and their match officials. So well done to everybody who was involved in that. It was a massive effort. Got me thinking a little bit, up to maybe all this COVID scenario, like matches used to be going off for the smallest of excuses. And I wonder where have all these cancellation excuses gone, between hen parties, stag parties, probably be the boat, weddings, funerals. And as we're on funerals, I remember once coming across a scenario where there was a league match cancelled because a guy in the club, his second cousin, had passed away. And my God, like at the time, it was just a culture of cancellations. How could you have a match going on in a pitch with a body in the local church? I'm not saying thankfully all that has changed, but I do think that the majority of people, those that pass away, if they were asked one last question as to what should happen on their passing, I would think that most of them would say, look, let life continue on as normal. Sometimes the playing of matches can be a kind of a celebration, if you like. And I'm thinking last weekend, Mark Buckley, he's a young man who plays football for the Dawneys club, and they were playing Knocknagree in the county championship. Obviously it was an important match, the quarter final of the senior A football. It was played Saturday evening, and then during the week leading up to the match, his wonderful grandmother passed away, and she was buried on Saturday. And the match was changed for a few hours, which I think was grand. And Mark played in that match, and if you look at the match record, I don't know what he scored. He really scored. His scoring prowess was probably the difference between winning and losing. And I'm not saying that didn't really matter, but the bottom line, I think that a lot of good has come out in terms of, matches are now getting played, and you want to have a very, really good excuse. And I know sometimes that can happen for them to be called off. So, as I say, huge improvements have been made and all that. If I was to be a little bit negative, a hobby horse of mine for the past while has been clubs that are insisting wearing jerseys where numbers can't be read from the back. Somebody told me one time that some clubs do this deliberately, that it helps them to practice the dark arts, and that match officials find it difficult for identification purposes. Some clubs have made huge strides in this area, and basically they put a white rectangular square on the back of the jersey and the number in black on it. I think of Middleton in particular, one club that stand out, Valley Rovers, a club close to my own heart. There's another club that have changed, and you can now read their jerseys, but there are clubs out there, Castlehaven, St. Michael's, Carrigaline, are clubs I came across recently, and it was absolutely impossible. And whereas most people probably say, what's he on about? Well, people that work in the media game, and I'm not talking about moi here, I come across these individuals, these reporters, ordinary decent individuals who do match reports. And as well as do match reports, I found most of them are massively supportive of the whole GA ethos. And it probably happens in other sports as well. And there they are on the line, and their working conditions are being made so much more difficult by the actions of some people. Obviously in a club, it's not everybody's club policy. So I would hope that things would change considerably in all of that in the time to come. Anyway, this weekend I think there's 23 matches in Cork now for decision in terms of county board games. Now they cover the various grades from Premier Senior right down to the 2 Junior B championships. So we're not going to go through all of them or anything like that. But we're going to start with games that are the important matches, if you like, that start, and we'll start with it's a big hurling weekend, and with the Premier Senior hurling, we have the 2 semi-finals in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Sunday. At 1:30, you have the county champions Blackrock taking on Middleton. I know Blackrock, as you know, they lost their first round, but I think they've really got their act together. Great side to get goals, and when they won the championship last year, it was their first time in a long time. And you know, their semi-final victory, I know now there was a little bit of controversy over the sending off and maybe a goal that they got shouldn't have been allowed. They take on a Middleton side who've been having a really good season, bar one defeat. They were impressive against Airdens Own. Again, Airdens Own had man sent off, but I think maybe Blackrock would be slightly fancied there. And then at 3:15, you have Glen Rovers. And here I'm talking about another man sent off, Patrick Horgan, who had his decision appealed it or had a hearing or whatever happens when you get off, and that happened during the week. So Glen Rovers play SARS in the quarter in the other semi-final. Now SARS are the only team that didn't have a quarter-final match, and you wonder whether that would militate against them. They've won their 3 group stages straight into the semi-final. They've had a great season so far, but Glen Rovers, like after winning that match last week, down to 40, or 2 weeks ago, down to 14 players, that probably brought them on a huge amount. So I think that could be closer than maybe most people think. Then we've got the scenery hurling. We've won semi-final in that, and that's Newcestown versus Kanturk. And again, this game goes on Saturday at 7 o'clock in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and Newcestown had a great win. And remember, they were lucky to qualify for that quarter-final spot, but by God, when they got their chance, they had a 2-week break. They put it to good effect, and they absolutely hammered Mallow last weekend. The scoreline doesn't do justice to their performance. They play Kanturk side. Now, for Kanturk this year, it's a little bit different in that they have qualified straight for the semi-final in both codes. So maybe that would benefit them. It would be a really interesting match. Look, there's absolutely nothing between these sides at this grade. The other semi-final between Bright Rovers and Father O'Neill's, that game goes off the following week. Well, it's not fixed until the following week because of Bright Rovers' involvement in football. Then on we have 2 semi-finals in the intermediate A hurling championship, and both of them are in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, I think it is, yeah. And then on Friday night we have the first one that opens the programme, Mayfield versus SARS. And obviously they're neighbours, even though they're in different divisions. But I think that Mayfield, well, the win would do them good, no doubt about it. It's no joke probably keeping that club going at times. So I kind of fancy them, even though SARS are by far the better of these second teams. They have so many hurlers in the club. And then on Saturday, 2 o'clock, you've Castlemartyr, who won last year's lower intermediate grade, take on Clodove. I think they will be favourites, even though the Clodove proved me all wrong the last time when they hammered their neighbours at Habolog. So that they're the 2 games there. And then in the lower intermediate grade, we also have semi-finals both on Saturday. Kilbricken, who've emerged unbeaten so far and have a nice mix of youth and experience, well tutored by Jamie Wall. They take on Tracton, a club that has a huge tradition in playing a higher grade of hurling. They've been doing well this season, but this is going to be a big test for them in Ballinspittle Saturday, 2 o'clock. And then at 3:45 in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, we've Liscool, who were last year's junior champions. And my God, these teams that win, when they come up, they usually, you know, thrive, if you like. They play Ballygavin, who to my mind have been the surprise package. I don't know where these guys have come from. You know, they have victories over St. Catherine's and then last weekend against Arrogidine Rangers. So they were, obviously, they are playing well, and there's going to be a big test of Liscool. So that's kind of, if you like, the big hurling games that are up for decision. You have with junior quarterfinals as well. We have the junior football quarterfinals. There's 2 of them on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and then the remaining one is actually on Tuesday. And the ones on Saturday, I should say, the 2 on Saturday at 2 o'clock in Ahiol, you have the meeting of Bright Rovers, won the East Cork Championship, and this is a team they've 13, I think, dual players. They're playing Orden. Now, Orden are a little bit of an enigma to me in that they're the Beara representatives. There's no championship Beara. Their last match in terms of competitive football was against Passage in last year's county championship. And they performed poorly that night, to be fair about it. So I don't know what kind of form they're going to bring to this match. Bride Rovers are driving on, but it's a big ask for them as well. And these Cork teams generally don't do that well in this first round of the county, but that may change. And then in Mourneabbey, Kilworth, winners of the North Cork for the very first time in their history. And even though that they would be kind of maybe known more as a hurling club, they're now back on the horse in terms of football, and they played the Douglas second team who won the City Championship last week. And then Sunday you have Ballinhassig versus the West Cork representatives, so we might talk a little bit about that later on. And then finally we go to Tuesday night, where we have the meeting of Boherbue, who were crowned junior champions in their division for the 5th time in a row. And they'll probably, if you were to talk to anyone, they'd like if they could never again win it, insofar as they'd prefer to be playing a higher grade. But they have a number of hurlers that will be playing with Drumtariff in this week's quarter-final, so that match had to go off. And in that quarter-final they'll be playing Ahina, and what a week for this club. Some of you will know very well where it is, kind of over there around Macroom, Roisin, Bailnamara. What a beautiful name. They were the only club in the Muskerry division, as far as I could gather, that had never won a Junior A championship. And like, there was a little bit of a noose around their neck. They had never definitely won the Mid Cork Junior Football Championship. And on Wednesday night in Macroom, before an absolutely huge crowd, they had a great win, eventually getting over the line against Ballincollig. They won, I think, something like, they scored 112, and one guy, Liam Toohey, gets into forward, got 111. Like, it's rare that you come across a situation like that in a final, that one player would get so many. I think Michael Horgan got the other point. And for the team captain, Matthew McCarthy, like, he has the honour forever and a day as being the first captain to bring the Mid Cork trophy to their club, and I would imagine there was some bit of celebrating there. His probably most famous player, and that will still be the case and probably forever and a day, is Breach Corkery. She comes from there. Her brother Donal plays with the club. I think her nephew actually came on in the match as well. So I think it was an incredible story. It was a beautiful night in Winston night, and well done to everybody in Ahina. They had a lot of heartbreak down through the years, and they kept it going. And sometimes it's very hard in small clubs to keep it going. You haven't a bit of success, but my God, was it worth it at the end. And I'd imagine for the people of that little area of Mid Cork, it will be a memory they'll carry on. And now look, they go into the county, they can play with abandon. I don't think they'll be favourites to win it or anything like that. Anyway, that's the junior football. We've 2 junior hurling quarterfinals, 3 junior hurling quarterfinals on Saturday. The reason we've 3 is because there's the Avenue winners get a bye into the semi-final, because there's only 7 divisions play hurling. So we've Ballinascarthy and Passage at 2 o'clock in Brinny, and Ballinascarthy are the West Cork champions and probably will be favourites, but Passage had a big win over St. Vincent in the City. They have Keane McCarthy playing for them. I think this game might be closer than what is expected. Those in the know a bit more than I am would say that Ballinascarthy would be the favourites there. Ballinora, who have won the Mid Cork for a number of years, take on the aforementioned Drumtariff, who will have a number of the Boherbue boys playing with them, and that game goes on in Mallow at 3 o'clock. I think that Drumtariff, even though some people say they've gone back from last year, they'll still be good enough to win that match. And then you have Ballymartle versus St. Eata's in Ovens at 3:30, and when we talked a few seconds ago about Ahina for St. Eata's last week winning the East Cork the first time in their history, I think they became the 22nd club to win the James E. Kelleher Cup. And of course, Shamie Harnedy is their main player and was the last day as well. So will they beat Ballymartle? No, Ballymartle's second team, they should. But this team was up intermediate, lower intermediate last year and were relegated, and they won the South East Championship. I won't say easily or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to know how that game goes. But probably St. Eata's would be the side I think I'd fancy them to get through. In terms of Camogie, they've all their adult competitions finished. There's underage activity, yes, going on, and ladies football, their big finals are on next weekend. We mentioned the West Cork Junior Football Championship. Well, there are 14 Junior A championships played for this year, because Beara don't have a junior football championship or a junior hurling championship, and we're down to the last two tonight in Diarmuid at 8 o'clock, and I tell you, they'll be crowded this as well. You'll have Tadhg McCorrick's playing St Mary's. Tadhg McCorrick last won this championship in 2012, and I think St Mary's won it in 2014. Now for St Mary's, it's a bit of a unique night in that they're playing their second final, West Cork final. They lost the hurling to Ballinascarthy, so it is going to be it's a big ask for them to step up again. They are probably slightly underdogs against Tadhg McCorrick's because of the O'Driscoll brothers, I suppose, more than anything else, playing with them. So, and the winners there, as I said, you know, will play Ballinasig on Sunday at 1 o'clock in Bandon. And finally, the last Divisional Junior Championship is the North Cork Junior Hurling, the Avondhu Junior Hurling Championship, and it's two good sides. Ballygiblin, who had a real good game on Wednesday night, last night, against Charleville. Game was, I think there was never more than 2 points in it. They were level on a few occasions, coming down the home straight. Charleville were actually a point ahead, and Ballygiblin got 3 to win it by 2. Now the Ballygiblin club, they're basically just up from Mitchelstown, and they include a lot of the Mitchelstown footballers. They won this championship back in 2004 and 2018, I think it was. So they'll take on Clyde Rovers, who beat Dromina last night. They kind of beat them comprehensively enough, and Clyde have won this championship in 85, I think 89, when they went on and won the county, and in 2019. So they are the two leading clubs in that championship. So that's kind of basically look at the Gaelic game situation. I know there are other games going on, maybe in the Junior B Divisional Championship, and we'll be talking maybe a little bit more about that as the year goes on, if you like. Well, the soccer, the Man United story continues, and my God, is it giving this weather. Do you remember last week when we were talking after the disastrous hammering at Liverpool? Then they went to, they played Sports on Sunday, was it? I don't know, was it Saturday? I think it was Sunday actually, and they beat them 3-0. And of course, a lot of the focus was on the Man United manager, but was the poor sports manager who was only appointed 4 months ago, Nuno Espirito Santo. What a beautiful name. He was fired, and they got in this guy, Antonio Conte, who had he's won the Premier League with Chelsea, won a couple of Sam Maguire's with Juventus, and he takes over. And you know, there was some talk that he could be the guy that would go to Man United, and of course he's now out of the equation. Then on Wednesday night, Manchester United playing the Champions League, fell behind twice to Atalanta, and Ronaldo saved them on each occasion. It hasn't kept anybody at bay. I mean, most of the United fans, I don't know, it is the most unique relationship they have with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They all seem to like him. They all seem to agree that he's not the man to lead them. But anyway, he's a big match again next Saturday. It is at 12:30 where they take on Manchester City, and City, who were beaten last week actually by, was it Crystal Palace? Remember I was talking about Crystal Palace. I haven't heard from them for a while, but City got back again with a Champions League victory over Bruges. 4-0 they beat them. Then on to other Premier League games, you've got Chelsea, who won last night or the night before against Malmo. They take on Burnley. Crystal Palace, the team that defeated Manchester City, take on Wolves. Arsenal, who those of you who support them must be happy, 8 wins in the row, are unbeaten in 8 matches. They play Watford. They beat Leicester 2-0 last week. Everton play Spurs, so we'll see how that game will go. And finally, Liverpool take on West Ham, who had a 4-1 victory, I think, over Villa last week. And of course, Liverpool had a massive win last night again in the Champions League. They're already now qualified. They beat Atletico Madrid 2-0. So, but the interesting story is obviously how long Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to stay at the so-called wheel at Manchester United. For those of you who follow rugby, well, you're going to be entertained now by the Autumn Internationals, the United Rugby Championship. That's put on hold for a while, and we're talking about this Autumn International, which is a massive marketing campaign where basically on this occasion the Southern Hemisphere powerhouses travel to Europe and play the various European countries. And Ireland will have 3 matches over the next 3 weekends, this Saturday, the following Saturday, and then I think they finish off against Argentina on the Sunday. But they have this match at 1 o'clock on Saturday against Japan. They'll be expected to win that. Johnny Sexton make his 100th appearance. Then the following Saturday they take on the All Blacks, and that's going to be obviously a real test for them. And they finish up their campaign against Argentina. But even though that these are big, you know, they're just simply friendlies, if you like, the marketing that will go into them, and you watch the media saturation of these games now over the next couple of weeks. Finally, this week we've been asked to remind you of a particular charity walk that's taking place this weekend, and it's the, what is it now? It's organised by Diarmuid O Mathuna's GA club, and all the details of it, and they're well laid out are on their website. It was meant to happen last year, to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Kilmichael ambush, and the walk is going to basically trace seemingly the boys of Kilmichael that are famed in song. They stayed in Castletown, that area, the night before, and then they marched up the 11 kilometres up to Kilmichael, and the walk is going to go along that pathway. And I suppose when something is cancelled, maybe, you know, it's hard to get it going again, but well done to Diarmuid O Mathuna's for doing that. Like, it's starting in a place called Allain, and from there up to the ambush site is 11 kilometres, and they start there at 10:30. But if you want to do the shorter walk, you can walk from Coppeen, which is about 6.9 kilometres, and for registration you get onto their website. I think it's well worth supporting. Again, they are a small club in West Cork, and like a lot of small clubs, you know, like, things aren't flying for them at the moment, but this is an important event, and the very fact is a very historical for those who are into walking. It's obviously going to be a beautiful walk. They tell me that the scenery in that neck of the woods is absolutely outstanding, and you come across various landmarks. A place, I think there's the Kinnet Round Tower, there's a fort there where Brian Boru was interrogated. I can only imagine what that was like, to be interrogated by Diarmuid O Mathuna's crew today. It's no easy task. So anyway, we can't come in that walk enough, and for, you know, it's only a tenner a person and €20 for a family, and I think it would be a beautiful day out and supporting a great club as well. So until we cross swords again, hopefully you enjoy that little bit of Raumace that we went down with there. And if your team are playing this weekend, whatever, call the very best of luck until the next time. God bless and take care.